You're listening to the HNC Let's Talk podcast, hosted by Dexter Brooks. Thanks for tuning in to HNC Let's Talk podcast. We partner with subject matter experts to provide candid conversations on health and lifestyle. Here at HNC Let's Talk podcast, mental, physical, spiritual, financial, and health are all connected. This episode of HNC Let's Talk podcast is sponsored by HealthNet Co. Together, we make insurance simple.
Philly, man, things are going very well here as well. We had, it's gotten cold, man. Uh-oh. I actually had to throw another blanket on my bed last night. It's gotten cold.
Just like that, huh? I thought it was hot last time.
It was, we had this change where we had started having some rain for the last few days in the afternoon, these heavy showers, which was perfect because it got rid of the fires that we had in the mountains, but it also cooled down everything, and it has been cold.
Well, and so it hasn't been like that out here. It's still hot. It has not it has not cooled down here at all.
But you know, Colorado, it's always going to change like that until it actually changes, you know?
Yeah. The seasons change. And when they do, sometimes it can be really, really abrupt. And, that kind of leads into kind of our topic here today that we were wanting to talk about, so far as...
And I'm so glad you brought that up on the table so quickly because I love the topic, which is... financial Wakanda. When you came up with that, I was like, yes. It took Demetrius to hit it on the head.
Yes, and I got to thinking about, what would that look like? I always talk to people about financial freedom and all this kind of stuff. And, I'm a big Marvel fan, so I love the old comic books and I love how they've been brought back to the movies and I can enjoy them with my daughter and that kind of thing. And so, working in finance, I was thinking, what would a financial Wakanda look like? And we talk about, again, financial freedom, and an advanced civilization with Wakanda, led by folks of color. And, I got to thinking, how would that manifest itself in real life? What would that look like? And I got to thinking about that actually a couple of years ago. And, that's kind of what led me on the path that I'm currently on. And, I was like, well, what if there was a system that was maybe off to the side or an auxiliary system, a means by which, people of color could go to a financial institution and not be subjected to, discriminatory practices or not have to worry about it as much. What if there was an auxiliary economy that was cooperatively, economically driven, based on the principles of, membership-based financial institutions like credit unions as opposed to banks, talking about cooperative housing solutions and those kind of things. Kind of what would that look like? And not to say that it would change everything for everyone, but that it would give people an alternative way to do business, and kind of how would that look like and how
You're absolutely right. I mean, because that's something people don't even think about. A lot, especially younger people that are coming into the entrepreneurship, the reality of how hard it is to do business when you're a person of color.
Yeah, there are definitely some challenges that I don't think that people that are not of color are fully aware of sometimes. And, it would be nice to say, I wish that, even though my credit is not as good as, maybe my white counterpart, maybe I could be extended the same rate, just kind of in good faith, as a community credit union or something like that, to kind of take that approach to finances rather than having, predatory payday lenders out there charging people usury rates and that kind of stuff. So, when I talk about a financial Wakanda, what that looks like to me is freedom from an oppressive financial system that Black folks are currently subject to.
So shed us a little more light on that for us.
Well, the way that I look at it, there's a couple of things that need to take place in order for something like that to happen, or a system like that to be set up. And the first step, I think, has to come by education. People don't know what they don't know, right? So you have to educate people about how to create wealth, how to create generational wealth, do it on a micro level, deal with individuals and families, and then focus on a higher level of financial services. Create a system where you have credit unions that are led by Black folks, that you have life insurance agencies and companies that are led and owned by Black folks or people of color. And, that's a way that you can reorganize the financial landscape if everyone was kind of on the same page. And I think overall, it would be something that wouldn't need to be done legislatively. The laws already exist to, make something like this happen. It's just that it would need to be a coordinated effort. So again,
absolutely,
the education piece has to come first, and then the implementation piece has to happen. And then you have to have what they call SMART goals, or, measurable, attainable goals, and to make sure that you're checking up on your progress along the way, and making sure that, you're beginning with the end in mind and saying, hey, if we want financial freedom, what does that look like? And then work backwards from that, and then take the steps forward from that spot, the actual actions to make it happen.
I'm so glad you brought this topic up, because when I started into insurance, when I got into Colorado, it's probably been I've been in Colorado probably 15 years now. So when I started into the insurance, and I then decided to branch out onto my own into the insurance, there were only a few Black agents in Colorado. And there were only a few Black agencies that still existed.
Right.
And the ones that did exist decided to stop because they said it was so difficult. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't difficult on the financial side for the financial backing. It was difficult because of what was happening within the insurance industry.
Mm. So was it a situation where they were having difficulty adapting to a changing economic climate, or was there laws that were changing, or, what was?
Well, the gentleman that I had spoken to always came back with the same storyline. That storyline was that they never were able to partnership with the insurers the way their white counterpart were able to partner.
You brought that up. I'm glad that you brought that up, because that is something that I've run across, that I've seen, that I've witnessed. Okay. So just for those people that are not in the industry, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe what you're talking about is where an individual has a life insurance agency, and maybe he's wanting to expand or create his own, almost like franchise. So like with certain life insurance agencies or certain companies, if you want to partner with them and sell their product, then and create an agency and a team of people, you can do that. But oftentimes the insurer, the company themselves, doesn't necessarily want to grant an agency to that advisor. Mm-hmm. I've seen that before. I've seen it to where a gentleman was next in line to take over an agency. A guy was going to retire, and I won't say the name of the company, but this guy is going to retire, and this Black guy was next up in line to take over this agency. And it's kind of like a law firm. It's like you take over a practice.
Yeah, and absolutely.
It's like that. You're taking over this book of business. You're taking over all these agents that work for the agency and that kind of stuff. And, and they make similar money to attorneys too, depending on the kind of practice that you run. We do. And so what happened was this Black gentleman was next in line. This guy retired for the second time. He retired once before, and he retired the second time. And this other gentleman was supposed to take over the agency. And the insurance company, the insurer, put such strict requirements on him that he could not run the agency by himself. So they wanted him to partner with someone else. They wouldn't let him run it by himself. But he had been at the agency for, 10, 15 years. I mean, he was next in line to take over that agency. And the insurer was like, no, we don't know about that. And so, for me, I said, man, and then he ended up leaving that agency and no longer worked for that insurer and went to another insurer. But yeah, there definitely does seem to be a glass ceiling in with certain companies, and just within the industry in general. I won't even say with certain companies. I will say
that's correct. It's within the industry. There are different standards within the industry. And that's one reason why I was so happy that I was glad when the ACA came about, because it sort of standardized a lot of things on the back end. Mm-hmm. But when they gave the option for states to have their own marketplaces, it sort of broke that piece of, I don't know, I guess I can call it that. It broke the chain to the point where federal and state don't operate the same.
Right.
And they really should. Personally, I say they really should.
Yeah, and I think that they should. I think that there's certain things that, when it comes to that stuff, I'm actually not sure. I haven't given it much thought as to, how that should be handled, because I know, on the investment side of things, like we talked about before, there's certain licenses that are regulated at a federal level, and there's certain licenses that are regulated at the state level.
At the state level, correct.
Yeah, so Series 65 is regulated at the state level. And, I think once you get up to a certain amount, you might get, to the federal level, but for the most part, Series 65 is registered at the state level. And so, but as a broker, as a Series 60 or Series 6 or Series 7 guy, that's regulated by FINRA, and which used to be called the NASD. It used to be called the National Association of Securities Dealers, and now it's FINRA. I think it's the Financial Institution and something I don't know, agency. I forget what FINRA stands for. I should know that. But they changed the name several years ago, and they've changed the licensing requirements over the last couple of years, I've noticed as well. But yeah, the industry itself is changing. And so oftentimes, to kind of speak to another level that makes it prohibitive for smaller minority agencies to get going, is sometimes that, as legislation changes, they have to have a compliance team. You have to run these agencies, like a law firm. And so, if properly organized, they can be quite lucrative, life insurance agencies. And they can be a tool, a means by which to recirculate dollars within a community. And that's kind of what I'm looking to do. One of the cash flow streams that I want to create for some of the projects that I'm working on, like the credit union and all that, is a life insurance agency, and a financial firm that has several parts to it that will allow to fund some of these, affordable housing projects. Provide loans to people at a decent rate and that kind of stuff. So, all of these things are tied together, and I've just gotten to a point basically where, I've reached maximum capacity for what I can do for myself. So I've enlisted the help of a couple of teammates to kind of help out and kind of grow the agency with me. And, we're all on the same page and looking to do some really positively impactful things in small communities of color throughout the country. And I think we want to start in Denver first.
No, that's great. I mean, that's congratulations on that. I think that when you reach that point that you can't do it all by yourself.
Yeah. It took a while to get to that point because, sometimes, you have ideas and you have projects that you want to work on. And then you're like, oh, and you get to a point where you're like, well, I can't just do this by myself. I need some other people to help me out with this. And so as I've been sharing the idea with other people, people have decided to come on board and help out. And, I really want it to be a team effort. I'm just coming off a time where I was basically volunteering full time for 3 years. And so, I'm rebuilding my financial temple, as it were. And so I'd like to do that with the community and show them how, you can leverage some of the things that I've learned over the last 20 years to create wealth on both a macro level and then also on a micro level and then also on a macro level.
So just to circle back a little bit, because I want the audience to understand something. Like you and I, Demetrius and I met a few years back, 2 or 3 years back, and we had planned to have lunch, get together, and sit down and talk. It never happened. 3 years later, here we are.
I'm persistent, man. And so, with all that stuff that I've done in the meanwhile, it has put me on the board for that Colorado Secured Savings Program and all that. That was huge. I don't know that I'm going to continue being on that board. We talked about that in the last podcast. I think that there might be a better way in which I would be able to be involved in that secured savings program. And we might talk about that in another podcast, but there was a 4-year commitment to be on that board. And so normally with boards that you're on with the state, you want to be careful not to have any conflicts of interest or anything like that. And so,
oh yeah, absolutely. That's something they're supposed to actually investigate right up front before they even allow you to join the board.
Right. And so for me, the first time I was on the board, I was pretty sure that I wasn't going to be able to, or that I was going to be able to avoid all conflicts of interest. And I was like, it's no big deal. I'm volunteering. And it's something that I'm passionate about, and it's something that I really want to be a part of. But, as I'm moving forward in my business and doing other things, I have to make sure that I am focusing my time on revenue generating activities because, you can do all the planning in the world, but if you don't implement your plan, then it's all for naught. And so for me, I'm at a part in my plan to where I'm limiting a little bit of my volunteering of time and focusing more on generating income to create the impact that I feel like, needs to happen, or that I feel like I'm able to create, or at least not necessarily just me, but whoever wants to be involved as well. I think, I want it to be a cooperative thing. I think I might be one of the only life insurance agencies that's organized as a public benefit corp. And so, which is a B Corp. And so people talk about LLCs and C Corps and S Corps and all that. A little known organization type or whatever is a B Corp. And so, we do want to profit. So we're not nonprofit. We're not a non-for-profit. So the goal is to profit, but it's just a matter of what we're going to do with those profits. And so we're cooperatively owned, and we're also a public benefit corp. And so that, I reorganized because I said, this really fits what I'm trying to do, because I do want to profit, but I want to, put those dollars to a really positive use, to good community use.
So that sort of turns back into where you come from with the financial Wakanda, is because of the fact you just have to make sure you're being more persistent and focused and not giving up on your passions and your dreams of being financially independent, and learn, like my parents always say, if you can't go over the mountain, go around it. It may take you a little bit longer, but you'll still get to the other side.
You still get to the other side. And what I think it was, what was it, Montel Williams? He said, move mountain. He was talking about, telling that mountain to move. For those people of faith, a mustard seed of faith, you could tell that mountain to move. but
Absolutely.
by any means necessary, though, get to the other side of that mountain. And so, I think that, again, with financial Wakanda and what that looks like, to me, that looks like financial freedom for people of color within this system.
But there's one thing that we as people of color that need to recognize is that we don't work well together, or we don't try to work well together. That's the thing. We don't reinvest in each other the way that we should. We don't put the funds back into those communities that are communities of color. And we need to learn how to do that.
I think that that's true. And I think that can be true. I think that Black folks can work well together. I think
Absolutely.
that we struggle with working well together sometimes. And I think that that's the result of a number of different things. I think
another podcast.
Yeah, that's another podcast. The root cause analysis of why that is another conversation. But yes, there are areas for improvement within the Black community for us to work together. And, I was thinking to myself and talking to a couple of my friends that are African immigrants, and we were just talking about how, it would be awesome if African immigrants could, kind of build a bridge here locally with the African Americans that are here, and, kind of, join cultures and enjoy each other's company and financially build some strength here in the United States. And then also create a bridge, from here to Africa for those people that are immigrants that want to help out their communities. That we might be able to create a way to, on a big scale. I'm a dreamer, right? And so you got to, begin with the end in mind. What does Wakanda look like, right? And so in my mind, I'm like, all right, wouldn't it be nice if the wealth of Black America and whoever else wanted to be involved was able to create an Africa that was independent, that was, not so dependent on Europe or China, or, that they could, kind of stand on their own as their own economy. And, in the end, I think that would be, to me, that would be a nice goal to have, is to make it to where, African Americans and Africans got along, and to where that we created a financial stability here in the United States, and then to where we were able to create commerce and a mutually beneficial relationship with folks in Africa. On a legislative standpoint, from a law, or we talk about politics and stuff, it would be nice as a form of reparations if they said, well, if you're an African American business here in the United States, that maybe you could do free trade with Africa, that you don't have to worry about taxes or tariffs on anything. I think that would be a good way to, a good gesture. We'll put it that way. As people talk about, reparations is always a topic of conversation as of late, and tends to be in, every 10 or 20 years, the conversation comes up, and what does that look like? And so, does that look like giving, cutting folks a check? Or does it look like, changing financial structure, or, changing the financial infrastructure, and providing some boots for folks to lift themselves up by those bootstraps?
Yeah, absolutely. Because like I say, the thing is, one of the most important things that I tell people is that if you can't see it, if you can't visualize the end of what you're trying to achieve, then you have no vision. You cannot create a business without trying to visualize what the end results are. And that end is not always about the green that comes with it.
Right.
But it is about planning and basically making sure you're structuring everything in a plan that lines up to where you want to get to within 2 to 5 years or 10 years. And you can't give up. That's the thing. Like I said, you can't give up by going over that mountain. You got to continue to work at it.
You have to. And, one of my goals years ago, I went to the Federal Reserve Bank with some kids with this organization called Operation Hope. And we're talking about, Black Wall Street and stuff. And we did an event with the kids and then taught them about that. And there's this big stack of money in the Federal Reserve in Denver. And it's got I think it's $30 million or something like that, right? I think it's 30 million. And so,
Wow.
I said, all right. And so at that time, I got the idea, I saw the stacks of money and I got this idea. I said, I want, because I was in volunteer mode. I'm in, I'm out there joining all these organizations and trying to be, good citizen and all this stuff over the last couple of years. And I said, what I'd like to do is I want to create $30 million worth of impact. I said, I want to have $30 million of impact, to the state of Colorado, one way or the other, like positive impact. And so, again, fast forward 3 years, I'm on this board, and, this secured savings program is set to have a $10 billion impact over the next 15 years. And so that worked out pretty well. I said, I said that I was going to be a part of something or, help to create that. They were not just me that helped to create that impact. There was a lot of people involved, but just being a part of that secured savings program, was something that I was really proud and happy to be a part of. And it's something that I think, 10 or 15 years from now will be hugely impactful to the state of Colorado. So, when I started out saying, hey, I want to create impact, how am I going to do that? I didn't know how I was going to do it at the time, but I thought, it might be good to get in contact with some people that, were agents of change that I saw to be good and positive people in the community that were also politically involved. And so, that was a really good thing. And so now the next step of my plan is to, help move toward that, financial Wakanda, however you want to call it, at least how it looks in my mind, and so, it's been fun, but, now it's time to move on to the phase 2 of the plan. And so having a plan for whatever you're doing is, especially when you're planning for your own finances is hugely important. But if you're trying to create impact, having a plan is hugely important as well. And so,
Absolutely.
yeah. So when you're trying to plan out Wakanda, you have to, it's a big thing.
And you have to be willing to bend over backwards to make sure that you team up with other people like you're doing now. That's the most important thing. You have to realize when it's time that you can no longer carry the ball yourself.
Right, exactly. And that's why, and I want to thank you, Dexter, for just allowing me this opportunity to co-host and be a part of HNC Let's Talk, because, it's a platform that, I can kind of let folks know what I've been up to and let folks, share ideas and kind of let me know what they're thinking. I work well in, generally small groups. I like to work by myself. I like to work by myself, but, when things get outside of the scope of what I'm personally able to do, then I work best in small groups. And so, when I talk about, that first level of education, that first level of Wakanda being education, financial literacy needs to be in the schools. It needs to be taught to Black communities. Financial literacy needs to be a part of school. It needs to be a part of work. It needs to be a part of home. Everybody needs to be up on, what it means to save and how to invest. It just has to happen. Second, I feel like financial institutions need to be created again and run by folks of color. I think it's important. Black-owned credit unions are awesome. I think that there needs to be a national, federal Black credit union because Black folks only occupy about 10 or 15% of the space. And so, economically, we're kind of at the bottom of the rung. And so having all these financial institutions is not as impactful as it could be if there were maybe 1 to 3 like large credit unions or banks that we could look to nationally. And nowadays we have the technology to have online credit unions and online banks. And so it's easier than it has ever been before to create these financial institutions. And so when we talk about financial Wakanda, they were, Wakanda was advanced. They didn't have, when we talk about financial institutions, I want Black banks to be on the leading edge of what that looks like. I want, contactless, payments and that kind of stuff. And, I don't want us to have the oldest technology. I want us to have the newest technology, and I want us to be the most efficient because, being Black folks, we have to, be as efficient and focused and concentrated with our dollars on the micro level and the macro level to accomplish or to achieve, we'll call it, a financial freedom. And so I think that, it's all coming together. Folks are getting together. People are getting excited. The life insurance agency is coming together. We are a group of 5 now.
Wow, that's pretty quick. Because like I think the last time I talked to you, it was more like it was at the 3 point. It was at 3, and now it's 5.
Yeah. So now there's 5. There's a young man, a young man by the name of Solomon. He came on board, and I ran into him, and he's got an interesting platform or interesting ideas that I think are going to be really helpful and useful to the agency. I don't know how much producing he's going to be doing, but he's going to be definitely part of the team and helping out and helping to grow the agency. And so that is going to be really, really exciting. So, so I look forward to working with Solomon. And there's also Coca Collins. She's a nurse. And so she recently has become a life insurance agent. And so, she's been out, getting her hands dirty and that kind of stuff. And so it's been a little challenging with COVID and all that to be creating a new life insurance agency. But it's been good. It's been challenging in a good way because it has allowed us to use the technology. It has forced us to use the technology available to be as efficient in creating the agency as possible. So as it grows, as the agency grows, we will already be, up and running with the latest technology. There's a artificial intelligence component to our platform on the financial planning side of things.
We got to find out what that is. Okay, we're talking artificial intelligence, so we know.
Yeah, we want when there's so much at stake, when it comes to trying to create financial freedom for yourself, not only for yourself but for a community. And so I wanted to have empirical data. I wanted to have something that would prove out on a model that if this were to be done, that this would be the result. And not to have it just me saying it, but to have it proven out and to have all the data to back it up. And so first, I'm going to take this first group of folks. It's going to be maybe, I don't know, probably about 25 or so, 25 to 50 folks that are going to be piloting the platform and the software and everything. And the goal is to help to basically create millionaires. The goal is to create millionaires. The goal is to take a group of 25 families or so and to say, we're going to look at where you are right now, and we're going to look at where you're at like in 3 years. And we're going to not necessarily create millionaires in 3 years, but to put them on a path to be millionaires and to be able to show a certain degree of progress over a given period of time. And so, it's going to be kind of like a, what do you call it, Professor X school for talented people. And so financially talented people, or they will become financially talented, exceptional people. And so, that's what the software is going to help do, is going to help teach them how to plan like a financial planner and help to create a living financial plan that adapts and changes with them and their circumstances and puts them on a path to financial freedom. And so the goal is to start out with 25. I'd like to get more. I'll see.
So we have room for 20 more people right now. So the goal is to have 25. So we have room for 20 more people. So that means that 20 people that are listening, here's one thing, here's first step you need to do. Reach out to us. Reach out to the Demetrius Rayden Johnson or reach out to Dexter Brooks so that we can give you that information that you need to know. What do you need to do to get started to that financial freedom? What pieces of the puzzle have you got to put in your bag, not just in your backpack, and put in your backpack so that you can start that journey into financial freedom?
Yeah.
And the first thing is to reach out.
The first thing is to reach out. I'll provide some tools. I'll provide some education. The financial planning software I'll be offering. The goal is to be launching this in October, sometime in October, hopefully the middle of October, because I want people to start thinking about 2021. And when I'm planning for my next year, I like to do it 3 months in advance. And so, I want to start this program with as many people as possible in October. And, we're also going to have kind of a check-in, right around tax time as well, because from October through April 15th of next year, if they don't push out the tax filing deadline again, I want to, measure a certain degree of progress, even, along that period of time. And then we also want to have conversations about what are we doing and how can we create wealth with our tax refund money as well. And so, it's going to be an interesting program. It's part of a debt to wealth program that I've come up with and been working on for the last couple of years. So it'll be really fun. Definitely reach out to either Dexter or myself if you're interested in that.
Oh, wait. Is that another Dexter? Because Dexter's not a common name. So there's another Dexter.
No, you Dexter. I'm talking about you.
Okay.
You too. I'm throwing you out there. Yeah. So, and so anyway, that's definitely, part of Wakanda for me, at least the way that I've envisioned it. Whenever I had this question, I've recently posed this question publicly, but, this is a question that I've had in my mind for a number of years. What does that look like? What does financial freedom look like? Not only for myself, but for my community. And so, I'm going to lean on my 20 years of experience, and I'm going to lean on my community, and I'm going to lean on, people that I know professionally to, see what can be done about doing that locally. And like I said, the goal is to start, in Denver, working with folks that are interested in improving their financial situation, working with folks that, are maybe wanting to, they want to experience financial freedom. They want to know what that looks like, or at least they want to go through that process. A lot of folks haven't actually gone through the process of talking with a financial coach or financial professional. And I think that it's something that people should at least go through the process, even if they don't implement the plan. But I hope they implement the plan. I want them to implement the plan. At the very minimum. Go through.
And what's a good email address for you? I'm going to post it out here.
Oh yeah. It's Demetrius D squared at gmail.com. That's my personal email. It's my Gmail account. That's not even my business one. I'm at a point where because I reorganized from an LLC to a public benefit corp, I've changed my domain to a .org, and so it's going to be dsquaredfinancial.org that people will be able to find me and search me up at or whatever. But for the time being, anybody can email me at demetriusd2@gmail.com, or they can reach out to me. They can text me 720-722-1290. I normally don't answer the phone very much, but if folks text me, normally I'll get back to them as soon as I can. Solomon can attest to that because Solomon reached out to me twice before we decided that we were going to be working together. And he reached out to me once, and then we scheduled an appointment, and I had something come up or something, and we missed each other, and then we had to schedule another appointment, and third time's a charm. And so I was really glad that we were able to connect. So if you message me or text me or whatever, I'll get back to you right away. Just keep trying, and I'll get with you. But yeah, anybody interested in collaborating and kicking back ideas about what a financial Wakanda would look like, and especially folks that I'm looking to talk to are folks that are Black folks that are financial professionals. Okay, so from the community, the ask is, reach out to a financial professional, go through the process, whoever that is, whether it's me or whoever else is going to be. There's only so many Black folks that are financial professionals in Colorado. So,
all right, that's
chances are whoever you talk to is going to be somebody I know or that's part of the team anyway. So, reach out to a financial professional, go through the process. I'd love it if you did it with me, but definitely do it with someone. So that is what needs to happen on the micro level. And then second step, what needs to happen is myself and my cohorts, financial professionals, need to establish that network of professionals that is going to work in a collaborative way and with the same goal in mind, or the same orientation at least. I'm not necessarily looking for everybody to share my goal or share my dream, but to be
similar. It's what you bring to the table that makes a difference.
It's what you bring to the table makes a difference, and that we're similarly oriented, that we have, at least are headed in the same direction. We may not have the same goals, but at least we're headed in the same direction. It's difficult to work with people that are headed in the opposite direction as you.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
We got to be at least working in the same direction. So we got to be at least facing the same way. And so, and what that looks like is, are you community oriented? Are you someone that, are you wanting to change your career? Maybe, do you want to work in, in insurance? Do you want to go get your licenses? Are you already licensed? That kind of thing. And so there needs to be a little Black book, maybe of Black financial professionals specifically, I think. And that would be, both real estate agents, investment professionals, CPAs, all those folks.
Now you can also reach out to us at on the website, which is hncletstalkpodcast.com, and just look for contact, and that email will come straight through. You can also visit us at healthnetco.com. Yeah. So we have every avenue in the world.
Now, Dexter, when you think about, financial Wakanda, like what kind of comes to mind to you? I know it was the name that just kind of came up, and we were kind of talking about it. I was like, hey, this maybe should be, the topic of the day. And I think that this conversation maybe will go on beyond today's conversation, but, kind of what are your thoughts about financial Wakanda, what that might look like?
It falls right in line to what you were exactly saying, and that is the idea of bringing people in that want to be able to find other avenues to earn a revenue. And this is one of those avenues. This is one of the best avenues that I've ever seen, because personally, it gives you, it's not only the financial freedom that you can have, it's also the idea that you have the freedom of working for who? You. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, and for me, as I'm building my agency, and as I'm working with folks on the investment side of things, the goal is to also, for those small businesses that are out there, the financial professionals, every small business, in my opinion, needs to have a CFO, a chief financial officer, or a CIO. That has kind of gone away as a title, but a chief investment officer. And I think now they reference CIO as chief investment, or what is it, information officer. But it used to be chief investment officer. And so small businesses need to maybe have someone that they can consult that, as they're putting money in the bank, that they are also allocating some investment dollars as well.
Yeah. Because business don't grow if you take all the money and put it in your pocket and decide to put it in your own personal account. You do have to invest back into your business. It's very important.
It's very important. So as you're dealing with your own family dollars, and building that financial house, your business too needs to have an investment component to it as well. That's a way that you can help your business grow and increase revenue, is to have an investment portfolio. We talked about cross purchase agreements with life insurance and attorneys buying insurance on one another and building cash value in those policies. But then there's also a way where businesses, can have an investment portfolio. And so, people need to be aware of what that looks like and the tax implications of that, and how that can be also beneficial for them as well. That's a lot of what I do with people, is, deal with them with their home stuff and then deal with them with their business stuff. But when you're talking about financial Wakanda, we need to be, again, having the conversation at all levels. We need to have it with the children and educate people. If your plan is to create a Wakanda, then that's something that, you gotta start young. You gotta think about the future. And so education is a key component. And so, and then, just organization, getting everybody on the same page and committing to saying, hey, we're gonna get our financial house in order. This is the priority, is to create wealth in the community. Once everybody says, hey, this is what we're doing, this is what we're committed to doing, then it's just a matter of, how are we going to do it? We're going to, leverage and use the tools that we already have available, like the real estate that's already in the Black community. How do we leverage that to create wealth? These small businesses, how do we leverage the revenue that's generated from these small businesses to create wealth in the community? Have kind of a financial think tank is kind of what D Squared Financial Group is kind of, folks just bouncing ideas off of each other and creating new ways, or creative ways, and sometimes just tried and true old school ways of creating wealth on different levels. And so I really like talking to the real estate folks, because I don't know anything about real estate. And so when they tell me, oh, you can do this and you can do that, I'm like, what? I can do what? And then, I've got some people that work in commercial real estate that I know that are friends and business associates. And they tell me all these things that you can do. And they're like, oh, yeah, you could buy an apartment complex and do this and do that. And people tell me about cooperative housing and all that. And I'm like, I'm not a real estate person. These are interesting ideas. I would love to help facilitate this to happen. But I myself don't necessarily want to be the real estate guy. And that, again, goes back to, realizing your limitations and saying, hey, you need some other people to come in and handle this side of things.
Now I'm going to throw one other thing out there before we get ready to wrap up. And what's important, and I'm going to say this to everyone, because most people don't know this. It's important that when you decide that you want to become an entrepreneur, or you want to start to build a financial Wakanda, that you also realize that you need to make sure you have in place that safety net in case something happens to you. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I say that from experience. And this is a podcast that Demetrius and I talked about before. And it was like disability insurance, mm-hmm. life insurance, because and accident insurance, these things will happen. They will happen unexpectedly. But when they happen, you want to be able to guide yourself and glide through it so that you can come back at the other end and stand up and keep going.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. You have to have that protection in place, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. It's not a matter of if you're going to die. It's a matter of when you're going to die. It's not a matter of if, I'm not going to say that everybody's going to become disabled, but most people at one point or another in their career will get to a point to where they've got to go on short-term disability or long-term disability or something. So you have to have proper protection in place. Long-term care insurance, all those bases need to be covered as part of a complete financial plan. And there's ways in which you can have all those bases covered and not, worry about it breaking the bank,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I say this to the whole world. We have had 2 wake-up calls on this during my lifetime. The first wake-up call was HIV. When AIDS came out, that was the first wake-up call.
Yeah.
Now we're in COVID.
Yeah.
This is the second wake-up call.
Yeah. And in both cases, African Americans have, caught kind of the short end of the stick.
At the short end of the stick on both situations. That's true.
Yeah.
On the African American was hit harder, that more died through HIV and AIDS, and African American again dying and being hit harder in COVID.
Right, and it's true. And so, you have to look at the affected groups, and sometimes, people ask, I say, because I had someone ask me about, my stance on, the death penalty or whatever. And I said, well, look at the affected groups. I said, well, African American males are the most exonerated group in the United States, meaning that they're cleared of crimes the most per capita. And knowing that, I'm like, all right, when it comes to the death penalty, then that means that there is a high likelihood that Black folks are being wrongfully executed at a higher rate than their white counterparts. And so I said, well, I don't know how I feel about the death penalty now. I said, it seems like to me, and I looked in Colorado, and I'm like, the only folks on death row in Colorado are Black folks. And so, when I take a stance on a particular position, yes, everybody's lives matter, but at the end of the day, as a Black male, Black lives do matter because they are, when you're the most affected group when it comes to like AIDS and COVID and that kind of stuff, police shootings and everything else, they have value. Those lives have value. I think people need to change their mindset around how they view Black lives. Because there are fewer of us, they should maybe look at us as being more valuable, not less valuable.
Absolutely.
So, I think that there needs to be a paradigm shift. There needs to be, people need to change their point of view when it comes to Black lives, and that, when it comes to the all lives matter people, when they look at a diamond or they look at a precious metal or something, it's because it's precious because there's less of it. Think of it that way. Think of Black lives as being precious because, we are killed at a higher rate and because we die at a faster rate due to no fault of our own, due to being brought into a system that, we didn't ask to be brought into. So, and that's a conversation for, another day, but, I want people to, to think about that when they think about financial freedom and setting themselves free, what financial Wakanda, kind of tying that all together, what that looks like. Like I would said in many podcasts is that, in my opinion, time is your most valuable asset. And so freedom of time is financial freedom. If you're able to do what you want and need to do and have all your needs met and have freedom of time, to me, that's financial freedom. Now, there are degrees of financial freedom, I suppose, where people are exceedingly wealthy. But if you're able to, for the most part, live like a working class person, but have the freedom of your time to do what you want to do, I would say that someone would be okay with, declaring themselves financially free at that point.
All right, so we're gonna get ready to wrap this up. What did you want to end with on? What note you want to end up with today, Demetrius?
Man, I've been doing a lot of talking. I've been doing all the talking. What do
Well,
I
that's
want to?
normal. You know that always give you the floor. That's the thing. I always give you the floor.
Well, I'd like to have some more of these conversations. I'd like to, maybe talk to the community, maybe on this platform and just have folks be able to chime in and get their thoughts about, what a financial Wakanda looks like to them. Because it may look different than it looks like to me. Some people are very separatist and they're like, no, we need to have something completely separate, and Black folks need to be over here, and we need to have our own thing. And some people are like, well, maybe we need to have, like myself, maybe we need to have an auxiliary system. It's not totally separate from the existing system, but is an alternative too, that's off to the side, but different when it comes to, maybe a different type of financial system, a Wakanda based system.
All right. So on that note, I want to thank everyone for joining us today at HNC Let's Talk Podcast. And again, you can always find us on our Facebook page, our Twitter page, our Instagram page, as well as our LinkedIn page. That's HNC Let's Talk Podcast. And don't forget to, if you have any questions, you want to join in on this financial Wakanda that Demetrius has been working on, and as I can see for myself that it is beginning to prosper, that I definitely suggest either reaching out to him by email or myself, and the information is in the notes. And until then, I hope everyone have a safe and blessed rest of the week, and be well.